Hey everyone, welcome to Midnight Whisperer, a place where real stories from Reddit's darkest threads come to life. If you crave mystery, fear, and the thrill of the unknown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Now, let's step together into the shadows of today's story. My sugar daddy asks me for weird favors. I remember the glow of my phone screen in the dim light of my cramped dorm room. The kind of place where the walls feel like they're closing in after midnight. Posters peeling at the edges and the faint hum of the fridge echoing from the kitchenette. It was late, rain pattering against the window like impatient fingers. When I swiped through Tinder, my bank account screaming for mercy. Broke as hell, buried under student loans and ramen noodles. Then his profile popped up, Jack, 45. But the photo showed a guy who couldn't be older than 32, sharp jawline, piercing blue eyes that seemed to stare right through the screen. A smile that was too perfect, like it hid something jagged underneath. Looking for a sugar baby. $700 weekly. No sex. My heart skipped. Too good to be true, right? But desperation makes you bold. I swiped right. Match. His message pinged almost instantly. Hey there, sweetheart, I cringed. The words slithering across my skin like cold oil. Sweetheart, but $700. I could swallow my pride. Hey, we chatted. He said his name was Jack, owned his own business, vague as hell. No details, just something profitable. The conversation flowed easy enough, but there was this undercurrent, like static on a bad line. Then, send me your Venmo, I'll get you started. I hesitated, fingers hovering, but I typed it out. Minutes later, the notification hit, $700 deposited. I stared at it, the room spinning a little, expecting the dream to shatter. Rain drummed harder outside, thunder rumbling in the distance like a warning. You still there? His text snapped me back. Yeah, sorry. If you don't mind me asking, what are you looking for in return? I'm just looking for you to do a few favors for me. My stomach twisted. Favors. That word hung heavy, laced with implications. Like what? For example, the first thing I need you to do is pick up a delivery for me. Innocent enough. Maybe, but $700 for a pickup. From the post office or something? No, I'll send you the address, but I'd rather not do this through Tinder. You got Kik? Or you can give me your number. Kik felt like stepping back into some forgotten era, dusty and outdated. I gave him my number instead. The address came through immediately, followed by directions to his house for the drop-off. I'm not home right now, but there's a key on the bottom of the blue flower pot near the door. Go inside and put the package on the coffee table in the living room. Make sure that you lock the door when you go inside the house, and then lock it again when you leave. He vanished inside, the house swallowing him in darkness. Minutes stretched like taffy. Then he re-emerged with a cardboard box, shoebox sized, but stained dark at the corners, damp like it had been weeping. Can you open your car? I popped the trunk from afar, not wanting that thing on my seats. He set it down with a thud that echoed in my chest. All right, there you go. Thanks, I muttered, edging toward the driver's side. Oh, and one more thing, he called out, his voice slicing the air. I turned. Watch out, watch out. For what? His grin was all teeth, no warmth. I slammed the door, blasted music to drown the pounding in my ears, heavy bass thumping against the growing storm outside. But anxiety clawed at me, the box in the trunk like a presence. whispering secrets. Jack's house was the opposite, a sprawling mansion on a manicured hill, stone pillars guarding the porch like silent sentinels. Grass so green it looked painted under the stormy sky. The driveway was smooth, cobblestone, my car feeling like an intruder. I grabbed the box cold, to the touch no one found the key under the flower pot. Blue petals wilting as if in mourning. Inside. The door clicked shut behind me. The air was thick, scented with polished wood and something metallic underneath. Thick maroon carpet muffled my steps. Walls lined with antique mirrors that reflected endless versions of myself, each one looking more uneasy. Furniture, gleam-dark oak tables, velvet chairs that screamed old money. I set the box on the coffee table, its stains mocking the pristine surface. As I turned to leave, a phone rang from deeper in the house shrill, insistent, echoing off the high ceilings like a scream in a tune. My pocket buzzed. Don't answer any calls that aren't from Marvin. Who the hell was Marvin? The ringing pulled me, curiosity warring with fear. I followed it through shadowed hallways, past rooms with dust-sheeted shapes that loomed like ghosts. In the office, an antique desk held the landline. Caller ID, incoming call from Jack. Odd. Why call his own house? I checked the text again, heart racing. Nope, not answering. I backed out, locked the door twice as promised, and fled. The mansion shrank in my rear view, but its shadow clung. That was just the start. More favors followed, each peeling back layers of weirdness. One time, Jack texted, "Hey sweetheart, need you to drive a BMW to a park in the next city over. Leave it there, keys under the mat, and drive back in the car waiting for you. $700, as usual." Why the swap? I asked over the phone later, his voice smooth like silk over razor blades. Just business, darling, keeps things discreet. The park was era-twisted, oaks casting long shadows in the fading light, fog rolling in like breath from the ground. The waiting car smelled of leather and secrets. I drove it back, glancing in the mirror for tales that weren't there. Another favor, meet an employee at a dingy diner. Booths sticky with grease, fluorescent lights buzzing like angry insects. The guy slid over a briefcase, eyes darting. "Deliver this to Julio's place, the one with the tattoos, and don't look inside, he'll know." "Who's Julio?" I asked, voice steady despite the chill. "The big guy, Jack's associate." "Just do it, kid." Julio's house, again that festering wound on the street. He took the case without a word, his shadow engulfing me. "Good girl," he rumbled. "Watch out." Those words again, haunting. Then came the stays with Julio. "Just hang out for a few hours," Jack said. "Keep him company. $500 extra." "Why me?" I pressed. "You're trustworthy and cute." His laugh was hollow. Julio's place reeked of stale smoke and something metallic. Walls yellowed, furniture scarred. We'd sit in silence mostly, him watching TV. With dead eyes, me scrolling my phone, the clock ticking like a bomb. Once, he muttered, "Jack's got plans for you. Big ones." "What plans?" He just smirked. "Watch out." By then, I'd pocketed $3,500. Easy money, right? Until the overnight ask. "I need you to spend the night at my house," Jack texted at dawn, my room still shrouded in pre-light grey. "Why?" I called him, pacing my floorboards that creaked like old bones. "Business trip, house sitting with perks. $1,000 if you follow the rules." "Rules? Like what?" "I'll leave a list. Trust me, sweetheart. It'll be fine." That evening, The mansion loomed under a blood-orange sunset, clouds swirling like omens. Driveway empty, porch light flickering like a dying star. I unlocked, stepped in air, heavier now, pressing down, locked behind me. My bags looked pathetic against the opulence. The list waited in the dining room, under an empty glass that caught the light oddly, refracting shadows. Mahogany table gleamed, chandelier above like crystal teeth. Lock the door when you come in. Only answer calls from Marvin. Don't turn on any faucets between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. Don't open the door for anyone, no matter who they say they are. After 10 p.m., if the door to the closet at the end of the hall is open, sleep in the library. If closed, sleep in any of the bedrooms. The gardener comes at midnight. If he starts knocking on the windows, hide. Turn the TV on and let it play on static through the night. Do not forget to do this. Help yourself to anything in the fridge. I'll pay you in the morning. Good night. Haunted house vibes. I laughed it off, but the words burrowed in. The house felt alive, now creaks in the walls like whispers, drafts brushing my neck like fingers. I lounged, exploring rooms where portraits stared with judgmental eyes, dust motes dancing in slanted light like spirits. At 8:50, I brushed my teeth, water gurgling ominously down the drain. Checked the hall closet, open, door ajar like an invitation to darkness. So, library, it was shelves towering with leather-bound tomes, air thick with aged paper and secrets. Couch plush but cold. I locked the door, scrolled my phone, mind racing. Why these rules? Ghosts, intruders, or something worse? Dozed off. Woke to the doorbell at 10:16 sharp, insistent, slicing the silence, heart hammered. Rule: don't open after 10. It's the police. Open up. A voice barked, authoritative but off, like an echo in a cave. I froze on the couch, breaths shallow. Shadows in the library, twisting like tendrils. Hello, it's the police. Open up or we're coming in. Silence stretched, thick as fog. Then again, ding-dong. Hey, it's Jack. Let me in. Sounded like him, smooth, charming. But why? No key. I didn't move, sweat beading, the house groaning in sympathy. This parade continued. Neighbors, delivery guys, even a sobbing woman claiming to be lost. Voices pleading, threatening, fading. An hour of torment, my nerves frayed like old wire dot. No gardener, no knocks. Fell asleep eventually, exhaustion claiming me. Morning light filtered through heavy curtains, golden but cold. Sounds from the kitchen clinking pans, sizzling. I unlocked quietly, crept across the living room's vast expanse, rugs swallowing footsteps. Peered in, a man at the stove, back turned, stirring eggs. Coffee brewing, aroma masking something sharper. He turned Jack, exactly like his photos. Handsome, but eyes too sharp, smile too wide. Hey, good morning. Hi, I managed, hovering at the threshold. Kitchen pristine, marble counters gleaming, but the air felt wrong, charged. Scrambled eggs. He offered, spoon gesturing. Yeah, thanks. I took the plate, sat at the island. Eggs fluffy, but tasteless on my tongue. Coffee bitter. So, how was it? He asked, leaning casually, but his gaze pinned me. It was okay. Nothing super freaky happened. Lie, the doorbell echoes lingered. Cool. Awkward silence bloomed, thick as the steam rising. I think I'm gonna go now. I have class. Another lie. Needed out. Oh no. Yeah, sure. I'll talk to you some other time. He walked me to my car, standing in the driveway, watching as I drove away. His figure in the mirror moving, like a statue. Home, my dingy apartment, a sanctuary now. Unpacked, found a list crumpled in my bag. Read it again, froze. Turn the TV on and let it play on static through the night. Do not forget to do this. I hadn't. Oh God, phone buzzed. $1,000 payment. Then Jack's text. I'm not in town right now. I should be back next week. So you're free from running any more errands for me until then. Just sent the payment. Go do something fun. Not in town, but this morning, the eggs. His stare, ... Another buzz from an unknown number. Did you forget to do something? Attached, photo of Jack in his living room, standing before the TV screen black. His grin feral ... Then another. My house, from outside, shadows creeping. Watch out. I couldn't shake it, the photos, the texts, that grinning imposter in Jack's living room, the shadow creeping toward my own doorstep under a moonless sky. My apartment felt smaller now, walls pressing in like the jaws of some unseen beast, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee and fear sweat. Rain hammered the windows again, relentless, as if the storm from that first pickup had followed me home, evolving into something vengeful. Watch out. Those words from Julio, from the unknown number, they echoed in my skull like a mantra from hell. I hadn't slept. How could I? The $1,000 sat in my Venmo like blood money, mocking me. Jack or whatever wore his face had texted he was out of town. But I'd seen him, smelled the eggs sizzling in that pristine kitchen, felt his eyes boring into me like drills. And the rule I'd forgotten, the TV static. What was it for? To mask sounds, to reveal shapes in the snow, or to keep something at bay that thrived in silence. My phone buzzed sporadically with notifications I ignored, friends, spam, the world spinning on oblivious. But one thing gnawed deeper. The gardener. The gardener comes at midnight. If he starts knocking on the windows, hide. Why specify him? The rule implied he was real, expected, but dangerous if provoked. No one knocked that night. No shadowy figure with pruning shears lurking in the manicured hedges. But the list capitalized it like a threat. Hide. What did he want? Why midnight? That witching hour when the veil thins and the dead door was still. I needed answers. Desperation turned me into a detective in my own nightmare. First, I scrolled back through my texts with Jack, searching for clues. Nothing direct about a gardener. The mansion's lawn was impeccable, grass like emerald velvet, even in the dead of night. But who'd maintain it? Jack traveled for business. Julio handled the dirty pickups. Marvin, whoever, that was got the call privilege. The gardener felt like an outlier, a ghost in the rules by dawn. The rain had eased to a drizzle, streets slick and reflective, mirroring the overcast sky like a bad omen. I drove back to the mansion uninvited, heart pounding as I parked down the block, hidden behind a cluster of ancient oaks whose branches clawed at the grey heavens. The house loomed as before stone pillars, stoic, windows like blind eyes staring out. No cars in the driveway. Porch light off now, giving the place a forsaken air. Vines creeping up the walls, as if nature itself was reclaiming it. I snuck around the side, mud sucking at my boots, the air heavy with wet earth and blooming night jasmine that smelled too sweet, cloying like decay masked in perfume. The garden stretched vast, rose bushes thorny and overgrown in patches, hedges sculpted into unnatural shape spirals that twisted like screams frozen in time, topiaries that from afar looked like hunched figures watching, tool shed in the back, door ajar, creaking in the breeze. That's when I heard it, methodical snips, like bones breaking in rhythm. I crouched behind a fountain, water trickling black and stagnant, frogs croaking mournfully, peered through the leaves. He was there, the gardener, tall, gaunt, in faded overalls, stained with soil and something darker, rust-like. Hat pulled low, shadowing a face weathered like old leather. Hands gloved in thick canvas that hid fingers moving with unnatural precision. He pruned a bush, shears gleaming, but his movements were off, jerky, then fluid, like a puppet with cut strings reanimated. No humming, no whistle. Just silence broken by the snip dash, snip dot. I watched 4 minutes, breath fogging the air. He paused, head tilting as if listening to whispers I couldn't hear. Then, slowly, he turned toward the house, staring at the windows. Knocking, no, not yet. But his free hand pressed against the glass of a ground floor pane. Palm flat, leaving a smudged print that lingered like ECTOPLASM. My phone vibrated in my pocket, nearly dropped it. Unknown number, curious about the help. How I hadn't texted anyone. I bolted back to my car, tires spinning on wet gravel, mansion shrinking in the mirror. But curiosity is a curse. It pulled me deeper. That afternoon, holed up in a coffee shop, downtown steam, fogging the windows, baristas clattering like skeletons I dug online. Local archives, property records for Jack's address. The house was old, built in the 1920s by some industrialist named Harlan Voss, who vanished in the 50s. Rumors of cult activity, missing servants. But the gardener, forum dives led me to obscure threads on forgotten message boards, the kind with flickering ads and anonymous posters. One from years back. Anyone know about the Voss estate gardener? Guy named Elias, been there forever. Locals say he died in '89, pruning accident, fell into his own chipper. But people still see him at night, tending the grounds, knocking on windows if you forget the rituals. Another post. My cousin house sat once. Rules list mentioned the gardener. She heard knocking at midnight. Pete saw a man with no face under the hat, just shadow. Hid in the closet. Next morning, flowers bloomed blood red where he'd been. Chills crawled my spine. Elias, I searched the name with the address. Obituary from 1989. Elias Thorne, 62, groundskeeper for the Voss family. Died in a freak accident on the property body, mangled beyond recognition in machinery. No family claimed him. Buried in an unmarked grave on the estate, per his wishes. He loved the land more than life. The obit quoted a former employer. But Jack owned it now, did he? Property records showed transfer in 2015 to a shell company, Marvin Holdings. Marvin again, I texted Jackor, the real one. Who's the gardener? Elias, no response for hours. Then, as twilight bled the sky purple, bruises of clouds gathering, Elias takes care of things, keeps the unwanted out. Or in why, ask sweetheart, missed the house. Attached, a photo from inside the mansion, the garden view at dusk. There he was, Ilias shears in hand, but closer to the window now. Hat brim lifted just enough to show, nothing, A void where a face should be. Shadows swirling like smoke. Another text. Unknown, he knocks when the static fails. It confuses him, shows him for what he is or isn't. I remembered the TV, static through the night. In old lore, white noise disrupts spirits, reveals doppelgangers in the flicker. I'd forgotten, let something in, or awakened it that night, back in my apartment, lights off. Curtains drawn tight against the encroaching dark. I heard it faint at first, knocking, not on my door. On the window, tap, ... top. Midnight exact. My clock glowing red. I froze on the couch, phone clutched like a talisman, peered through a slit in the blinds. The street lamp flickered, casting jaundiced light on the sidewalk. A figure stood in the rain tool, gaunt, overalls dripping, shears dangling, hat low. He raised a gloved hand, pressed it to the glass. Smudge, then knocking resumed, rhythmic, insistent. Its maintenance, a voice rasped from outside, muffled but clear, like wind through graves. Let me in. The weeds are spreading. My blood iced weeds. Or something growing inside me now, since I broke the rule. I didn't open. Hid under blankets that smelled of panic, turning on the TV, my own small screen, to static. Hiss and snow filled the room, a blizzard of grey. The knocking stopped. But in the flicker, for a split second, I swore I saw him reflected not outside, but in the glass of my screen. Face a whirl of shadows, eyes empty pits begging or hungering. Morning came grey and unforgiving. No sign of him. But on my windowsill, inside, a single red rose, thorns dripping door, blood. Petals perfect, stem clipped clean. Ilias's backstory. He wasn't just a dead gardener haunting the grounds. He was the guardian, or the curse, bound to the land after his accident. Maybe no accident, sacrificed to protect the house's secrets. The imposters, the mimics wearing faces like masks, they feared him or used him. The rules kept him at bay. The static scrambled his sight. Forget, and he comes calling, pruning the living weeds who trespass. Jack texted later. Elias says hi. Need another favor soon? 1,500. Overnight again. Follow all rules this time. I stared at the rose, wilting now, blackening at the edges. Watch out. Too late. The garden was growing, and I was rooted in it. The rain had stopped, but the city still dripped. Neon bleeding into puddles that reflected distorted versions of everything above them. I sat in a 24-hour faux joint on the edge of campus. Steam curling from the bowl like ghosts escaping broth. The old ceiling fan creaking overhead like a warning. My phone lay face down beside the napkin dispenser, screen dark but alive, with unread messages from numbers I didn't know. Asterisk. The rose Elias left on my windowsill had turned to ash overnight, crumbling into black dust that smelled faintly of iron and wet soil. I hadn't slept. Couldn't, not after seeing my own reflection blink out of sync in the bathroom. Mirror at 3:07 a.m. just once. Slow and deliberate, like it was testing the hinge between worlds. I needed to understand what was wearing Jack's face, what was wearing mine, so I opened the Notes app and started digging. Fingers trembling over the cracked screen, the faux shop's fluorescent lights buzzing like a swarm trapped in glass. Doppelganger lore wasn't just folklore, it was a map, and I was already lost in it. The word itself comes from German, doppelganger, double-goer, but the idea is older than language. The ancient Egyptians believed in the Ka, a spiritual twin born with you, tethered by an invisible cord. If the Ka grew hungry, it could slip into the world wearing your skin, drinking your life like wine. The Greeks had the eidolon, a shade that could be summoned by necromancers, or born from grief. The Norse called them fylgja, animal-shaped or human, following behind like a second shadow. Sometimes they warned, sometimes they replaced, but the doppelganger as we know it, the perfect mimic, the walking theft crystallized in the 18th century. A Prussian officer named Emil Sculptitus wrote to his fiancée in 1796, Asterisk, I saw myself riding past my own window, waving, though I stood inside. The horse was mine. The uniform was mine. But the face God help me was smiling when I was not. 3 days later, Sculptitus was found hanged in his quarters. The rope, tied with a knot he'd never learned. That's the pattern. The doppelganger doesn't just imitate. It corrects. It sees the version of you that should exist. The one without hesitation, without fear, without the cracksand. It steps in to fill the mold. The original, erased, not killed, unmade, like a sketch rubbed out with a dirty thumb. I scrolled deeper, past academic papers and into the forums, the same ones that mentioned Elias. A thread from 2017, buried in a now-defunct paranormal board. Greater than user red thread _88, greater than my roommate saw herself in the hallway mirror at 2:14 a.m. She was brushing her teeth. The reflection was not. It was holding a knife. She screamed. The reflection smiled. When she ran to wake me, the mirror was empty. The knife was on her pillow. She moved out the next day. I still live here. The mirror's covered now. But sometimes, at 2:14 exactly, I hear brushing and humming. The song she used to sing in the shower. Another post, 2021. Greater than user, no _face _left, greater than they don't need to kill you. They just need you to doubt. Once you question which one is real, the tether snaps. The car drinks. The fylgja feasts. The doppelganger wins. Pro tip, never let it speak your name backward. That's the binding. I froze. Jack had never said my name. Not once. Not in texts. Not on the phone. Always sweetheart. Always darling. Always safe. But the thing in the kitchen, the one who cooked me eggs, with hands that moved too smoothly, had leaned in close while pouring coffee and whispered, You're doing so well, my name, backward, soft as breath. I hadn't noticed then. I noticed now. The foe had gone cold. The fan kept creaking. Outside, a siren wailed and dopplered into silence. I typed frantically. In Celtic lore, the fetch appears to those about to die, but only if you're worthy. A king sees his fetch on the battlefield and knows his reign ends. A mother sees hers at the cradle and knows the child will live on without her. But in the Black Forest tales, the doppelganger is born from envy. A woodsman covets his neighbor's lifewife, house, health, and one night. The neighbor wakes to find the woodsman standing over him, wearing his own face but with eyes full of hunger. The woodsman is never seen again. The neighbor, he starts chopping wood with 2 left hands. There's a ritual, old, dangerous, involving mirrors, midnight, and a name spoken 3 times backward while staring into your own eyes. The doppelganger is summoned, forced to reveal itself. But if you blinketh, you flinch, it crosses over, and you're the one left in the glass. I looked up. The faux shop's window reflected me, hoodie up, eyes sunken, lips moving silently as I read. But for a second, just a flick of the reflection's head tilted when mine didn't. Its mouth curved into a smile. I wasn't making. I slammed the phone down. The reflection didn't. The waitress approached, refilling water I hadn't asked for. "You okay, honey? You look like you've seen a ghost." I forced a laugh. "Something like that?" She lingered. "My grandmother used to say never trust a mirror after midnight. It stops showing you, starts showing it." She walked away. I stared at the window. The reflection stared back. Then, slowly, it raised a hand, waved. I didn't. I grabbed my phone and ran. Back in my apartment, I covered every mirror with bedsheets, taped them down, turned off all lights except the TV static blaring, a snowstorm of grey and white that hissed like a warning. I sat cross-legged on the floor. The list from Jack's house crumpled in my fist. Rule number 7. Asterisk, turn the TV on and let it play on static through the night. Do not forget to do this. Asterisk, now I knew why. Static isn't just noise. It's a veil, a scramble. Doppelgangers navigate by clarity, by the sharp edges of identity. Static blurs the signal, confuses the mimic, keeps it on the other side. But I'd forgotten, once dot, and now it knew my name. I turned the volume up until the speakers crackled. The room filled with electric snow. In the flicker, shapes moved tall, thin, wrong-angled. Not human. Not anymore. My phone buzzed on the carpet. Unknown number. Asterisk, you left the door unlocked, sweetheart. I'm home. Asterisk attached. A photo. My apartment door. From the inside. The chain still latched. I stared at the static. In the center of the screen, a face was forming my face. But the eyes were too wide. The smile too sharp. It pressed closer. The glass bulged slightly, like something pushing from within. I grabbed the remote, cranked the volume higher. The face recoiled, distorted, shattered into pixels. But the knocking started, not on the door, on the TV screen. Tap, 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 like shears on glass. I whispered the only thing I could think of, the counter-ritual I'd found in a scanned PDF of a 19th century grimoire, buried in a university archive. Asterisk by name, reversed, by shadow bound. I see you now, turn around. Asterisk 3 times. Backward. The knocking stopped. The static cleared for one frame, just one. And there, in the center of the screen, stood me, hoodie up. Eyes sunken, but smiling. It mouthed my name. Forward this time, then the screen went black. The power was still on. I haven't looked in a mirror since, but sometimes, when I pass a window at night, I see 2 shadows trailing behind me. One is mine, the other is catching up.